Y'all, it looks like Steve Harvey's family is falling apart because, child, the stories that are coming are just wild. It looks like Marjorie's own daughter, Morgan, is dragging Marjorie for abandoning her biological father. This story is a hot mess, and our girl Marjorie is not looking good. We have heard so much about the Harveys in the past couple of weeks, and we now know that they're just as messed up as the rest of us. And ever since Marjorie's first husband, Jim Townsend, decided to spill some major tea about Marjorie, a source revealed that the tensions have been high within the family. Okay, so we all know that our girl Marjorie knows how to play the long game, but it might be game over for her because the past is about to catch up to her. And honestly, it's super impressive how she has managed to completely reinvent herself to become the woman she is today. Nobody really talks about her past anymore, which is really interesting because Marjorie has been wildin' for a really long time, and she has a super colorful past. This woman has got skills, y'all, and I feel like people completely underestimate her sometimes. Okay, in case y'all missed all the drama, we recently found out that her ex-husband, Jim Townsend, is writing a tell-all book about his life, and of course, Marjorie is going to be featured heavily in this book. It's obvious that she is the major selling point of the book because people want to know about her past and what her life was really like before she became Mrs. Harvey. Every time people talk about the book online, they're always talking about the Marjorie angle. But it looks like we don't have to wait for the book before we find out about Marjorie because Morgan is here to help us with that. So back in the 90s, Marjorie was married to her first husband, Jim Townsend. Morgan is Marjorie's first child with Jim, and she was born before Jim got busted and sent to prison. And when Marjorie was pregnant with their second son, Jim got busted by the cops when he was trying to buy 40 kilos of nose candy. It turned out that Marjorie's loving husband was a drug dealer and even a kingpin. He was arrested, and the interesting thing is that both the FBI and the DEA suspected that Marjorie was also heavily involved in his drug business. I find it interesting how people often talk about how Marjorie was married to a kingpin without talking about the fact that she was actually investigated by the authorities for her involvement in the business. At first, she tried to play the cute pregnant housewife role, and she almost got away with it. Like, who would even expect that a very pregnant woman would be involved in such an illegal business? Well, the FBI and DEA did, and they looked into her long and hard. But Jim decided to play Romeo and take the fall for Marjorie because she was pregnant, and he didn't want her to have their baby in prison. Plus, he needed her to be free so that she could take care of Morgan, so he cut a deal with the authorities so that they could leave Marjorie out of it. Well, Mr. Loverboy got sentenced to life imprisonment in 1992 while Marjorie walked free. She had their baby, a boy that they named Jason, and she stayed loyal to him. Well, at least for 5 years before she dipped because she was not about that prison wife life. She filed for divorce from him after 5 years and she moved on with her life. It didn't matter that he cut a deal to save her. She was free and he was not, so she dumped him and moved on. If you think this is bad, well, it kind of gets worse because Marjorie soon fell in love again, and of course, he also had money. Anywho, she fell in love with a man named Donnell Woods, and he is believed to be Lori Harvey's biological father. However, neither Marjorie nor Lori has confirmed if he is truly her father, and I'm not surprised because the marriage was just so chaotic from the very start. I mean, Donnell was also a drug kingpin, and it's kind of wild that Marjorie got married to a kingpin not once, but twice. I thought she would have learned her lesson when she got off easily from the Jim Townsend case, but that was clearly not the case here because she got together with yet another kingpin immediately after. And the craziest part is that Jim and Donnell are allegedly cousins. I'm talking real life, same family cousins, so I guess Marjorie wanted to keep it in the family or something like that. Child, at this point, I'm not even surprised that Jim is writing a book about her because I just know that man got stories for days. Marjorie having kids by two cousins means that Lori, Morgan, and Jason are both siblings and cousins. What in the sweet home Alabama is this? But again, this story gets even wilder because Donnell was also busted by the FBI. At this point, I'm starting to think that Marjorie either didn't know how to pick the good kingpins or she was low-key a snitch. Like, what are the odds that both her men got busted? Yeah, the math ain't really mathing for me. Again, Marjorie managed to get away the second time around, and it was after this that she hit the jackpot. She reconnected with Steve Harvey, who she had met years before in 1987, but she had turned down his advances because he was broke. Anyways, they reconnected, got married, and she convinced him to give her 3 kids his last name and formally adopt them. Yeah, it didn't matter to her that Morgan and Jason's father Jim was alive and doing well. Well, probably not doing well because he was in prison, but he was still alive, and she went ahead to assign his kids to another man. So if y'all wonder why Jim was mad enough to write about her in his book, well, this is your answer. And y'all better believe me when I say he's mad, because he is coming out for blood. Although Jim was sentenced to life in prison, he only served 26 years after being granted a pardon by then President Barack Obama. And it's all thanks to her daughter Morgan, who really went above and beyond to get her biological father out of prison. And now that he is out, he is releasing a tell-all book on how Marjorie was also responsible for their family getting destroyed. Speaking to Radar Online about the book, he said, "I wrote 2/3 of the book in prison. I have no allegiance to Marjorie. She showed her hand. I'm going to tell my story. It don't matter if she knows about it." He also had an interview where he hinted that he had a lot to say about Marjorie.
So the book isn't really like anything that's gonna like kind of bash her or make people be like, "Dang, Marjorie did all that."
Yes and no. I'm telling you, you know how life is.
Right.
You know how life is. I'm just gonna put the truth out there.
Right.
And I'm putting the truth out there, I should say. And you know, just let people be the judge of it.
He also recently unveiled the memoir titled Snakes in the Garden.
Pow! There it is, baby. Snakes in the Garden.
And there's even an excerpt from the book that went viral saying, "The sight of Morgan always brought joy to my heart. She was truly the apple of my eye and the only reason I hadn't killed her mother. As Morgan couldn't understand what was happening, she turned her attention back to me and locked eyes with me, giving me a look that said, 'Come and get me, Daddy.'" So this just proves that Morgan was always there for her father, even when her own mother decided to abandon him. And the fact that book has 3 parts, like that's just some detailed tea on everything that went down. This is going to be hella messy, and of course the Harvey family is dreading it. Well, all of them except for Morgan, because sources have it that she is kind of indifferent about the book. She feels like Marjorie was wrong to have abandoned her father when he took the fall for her and went to prison for her. Even though she's grateful to Steve for giving them a good life, she understands why Jim is angry because Marjorie not only abandoned him, but also took his kids away from him and gave them a different last name. So she is going to do her best to stay out of the mess. Someone commented, "Karma never forgets an address. Everyone reaps what they sow." There were other comments saying, "I have a feeling there will be some big payouts so the books never get released." And another person said, "Her past was never a secret to the people here in Memphis. We knew about the infamous Woods drug kingpin cousins. She was married to one and in a relationship with the other after one of the cousins went to prison. And of course being married to the kingpin himself, Jim Townsend, aka Mr. Big." Marjorie didn't stop until she hit the $1 million club. There were others. I'm guessing Marjorie thought she hit it big when she got with Todd Day. They didn't stay together as long, or maybe she left him because he wasn't quite in the $1 million club. Maybe Todd found out she was the real Lady Heroine, aka Gold Digger, and left her alone. The rumor on the streets here is she would tell her friends that she didn't like Steve at all because his lips were too big. People talk around these Memphis streets. Anyways, it was said that her mom told her to marry him, which is what she did. True story. Child, when her and Steve made it official, I'm sure he then realized he had to take the Holly Weird oath to be able to afford Marjorie, aka Lady Heroine, her children, her mama, and dad. Which is when he got 50 jobs to take care of her lavish lifestyle and her family. This is some messy drama, but what do you think about Morgan dumping her mother like this? Do you think she's doing the right thing by not getting involved, or do you think she should be sticking by Marjorie? Let me know what your thoughts are, then check out this video.